Here we are at the return to the Bigfoot Museum. We're going to go inside and see what's up today. Today is Sunday, 4/22 today, April 22nd. So it's recording. If you just talk about any sighting that you'd like to.
Well, you mentioned the one of the guy in the urinal. So why don't I go ahead
Restroom.
and do the restroom? Well, I've got to get specific in
Okay.
the story. Yeah, the guy goes to the restroom. He's in one of our state parks here, in a campground, and of course the restroom is centrally located, and it's a block building made out of cement blocks.
And what time of the day?
It's late at night. It's in the AM. Everybody's asleep in the camp. It's quiet. There's a big spotlight on top of the restroom so you can find it in the dark. And he makes his way up there. Brought a little flashlight and made his way to the restroom. And he goes in and he's standing at the urinal to do his business there. And the wall behind the urinal went up and of course met with the ceiling. And in the corner there, they had left an opening. So there's a space, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches wide coming down from the ceiling, and they had a fairly wide meshed screen over that, and it's a vent, to let air flow through the place. And so he's standing there. It's 1:32 in the morning, something like that, and it's a little chilly. It's probably 40 degrees out, and he's hearing some noise, and it sounds like somebody just walked up and was standing right opposite him on the other side of the wall. And that unnerved him a little bit, but that's what his ears told him had just happened. So he's looking up at this grate, thinking, well, it sounds like there's somebody standing right outside there. And just as he looks up at the grate, he sees a blast of hot air vaporize through the grate. And he then caught wind of this horrible halitosis, and then the fight or flight scenario kicked in, and he's having himself a little adrenaline rush, and he's standing there going, what the hell is standing on the outside of this wall? And he figured that the best thing to do would be to just stay still and listen. And so that's what he did. And he said he stood there for, gosh, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, absolutely still, just listening, because he's hoping to hear this thing walk away again. Because now he's got a picture in his mind of something that might be 8 feet tall that has very bad breath, standing right outside the wall, and that's a little unnerving. 20 minutes passes, and he goes, this is ridiculous. I can't just stay here. I've got to get out of this place and go back to camp, and maybe I'm just imagining it, And so he gets his courage up, and he goes out, and he figures, I'll go to the left instead of the short way, which would be directly past where the thing is standing. I'll head up this way and see if I can go the roundabout way and get around the backside. Maybe I can catch a glimpse of this thing. So he goes out and he starts to go to the left, but there's a tree and a fence there, and he can't get through. So he's got to deal with his fear. So he heads back towards the campground. As he passes the wall, he turns and looks, and there it is. He can see it. The light shining through the opening up there. There's enough light to see it clear as a whistle. And he said that it just kind of took 2 steps back like that, and then stood still again. But he could still see it.
About how tall?
He said that it was actually, its face was right outside the, right there where the grate is. It was at least 8 feet tall. The inside of the building was 8 feet. And he said its arms were hanging down to its knees, and that it had mud spattered all over it. There was, swatches of mud here and there, and there was sticks and leaves and things tangled in the hair and clinging to the mud. And he was standing right here in the museum when he told me this, and he walked over to the display with the Patterson film, and he pointed to the close-up of the face from frame 350 of the Patterson Bigfoot. And he said the face looked just like that. You could see
I'll get that.
A little bit of skin under its eyes, and the tip of its nose, and its mouth, and the rest was hairy.
This is the one that he's talking about.
So he said that he took this quick glimpse at this thing, and then he hurried himself back to the camp, and he said that he, of course, didn't sleep the rest of the night. He just laid there listening all night long, you know, figuring that this thing could end up coming out.
It didn't follow him.
Didn't follow him, and he didn't see or hear anything of it the rest of the night, but he couldn't sleep. And I'll tell you, when he told the story, it was like real time. Everybody that was here was going, "Come on, what happened?" You know, because he was dragging the story out.
Huh.
Yeah, it was.
How recent was this?
This was in the early '90s.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this was a while ago.
And how recent was he in here telling the story?
A few weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I hear stories like this on a weekly basis. I can easily say I hear at least one story like this a week.
Any other stories that come to mind?
Well, a woman called me this earlier today and reported that she's got some activity out in her backyard. She saw a tremendously huge red eye shine. She said she could see the silhouette of its head, which was enormous. And she said she'd heard about people calling them pumpkin heads. And she said that came to mind when she saw this thing in her backyard with the glowing red eyes and the big head. And she said that she had heard and seen them before, seen the eye shine, but they had been nothing happening for several months, but just recently they started appearing again. And she's in the Monterey area, so I intend to give Bart Catino a call and see if he'd like to go check up on that, since he lives in the Monterey area. Yeah, and that was a report we got just today.
Wow. Pretty recent. Any others?
Well, yeah, I could go on forever and ever, but I'm kind of wearing out here. I
Wearing out?
Save my breath.
Yeah, it's almost
we
what,
got a meeting coming up.
5:30, and you got a meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay,
Lose
go.
track.
Another story.
Yeah, the lady was up in the area we were just discussing, and she said she saw a sign leading to a little park, and she took the side road off the main road into this little county park, and as she was getting deeper into the woods, and she described it as being an area with lots of ferns and lots of redwood trees, with a creek running through it, and just as she came to a bend in the road where the creek was off to her right, and it turned, she noticed up ahead, maybe 60 yards ahead, and then less as she approached it, what looked like, she said it looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, except it was naked and covered with long hair. And it was a side view, and it was about 9 feet tall, she said. And she said this thing, this Schwarzenegger-like thing, didn't look at her. It kept its eyes straight ahead the whole time, which was in strict profile to her. But it did a standing broad jump across about a 20-foot wide creek. And when it landed on the far side of the creek, she said it immediately disappeared. It was like gone in just a flash once it touched down on the far side of the creek. And that's her story. And I went up there actually with none other than Bobo, Bart, Tom Yamarone. We went up there a few years ago following up on this story, and we never did find the area that she described exactly, although there was a bunch of little places very similar to what she described. The thing is, she was from out of town, and so she didn't know the names of any of the roads, and she didn't really pay attention. And she had gone all the way to Gilroy, and she had come out here from Illinois, so she knew nothing of these roads in the Bay Area. And she had gone to Half Moon Bay to hang out while she was waiting to inherit some property in San Francisco in a couple of days. She was out to see the property she had inherited, and just happened to have herself a Bigfoot sighting. And she was pretty excited about it, and she wrote to me. She wrote to the BFRO about it as well, and she sent me pictures of Bigfoots that she'd find on various websites and here and there that she felt looked a lot like the one she saw for comparison. And she drew a picture of the road, and she'd gone up there looking, she went past this Bigfoot spot, went up on a ridge, and she said there was a road closure sign announcing the road had been closed because there had been a slide up on Devil's Slide as you approach San Francisco, which was, of course, north of Half Moon Bay and north of her location there. So it happened somewhere south of Devil's Slide in the coastal redwoods near Half Moon Bay. And I don't know if it was Huddard Park or if it was Purissima, or it was one of these little parks up there in San Mateo County.